I'm Belinda Goodrich.
And I'm Brandy Bean. Welcome to
See How I Did That? This is your opportunity to get engaged and inspired by our guests who have overcome obstacles to achieve success.
Real women,
Real talk,
and real inspiration. Your transformation starts now. Welcome to See How I Did That. I'm Brandy Bean.
And I'm Belinda Goodrich.
And today we spoke with Katie Mongelli, and she walked us through finances and how we can really just better ourselves financially, which Lord knows I need help in this area.
Yeah, you know, it's funny when we teed her up to be a guest on the show, I thought, oh no, I want to make sure people listen to it. And I know if our listeners out there that are like me, I'm like, ooh, finances? Talking about finances at tax time, especially being self-employed. But ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to miss this podcast because she gave us some incredible information.
Absolutely.
And some really amazing takeaways. And I love that she humanized accounting.
Yes.
And she's just got a really fun story. There might be a cow involved in the story. So
which is really funny.
you definitely want to listen to this
Yes.
one. So ladies and gentlemen, here is our interview with Katie.
Welcome to See How I Did That. I'm Brandy Bean.
And I'm Belinda Goodrich.
And today we have the distinct pleasure of speaking with Katie Mongelli. And we're going to talk a little bit about women and finances. And I am just so excited because let's be real, I need some help in this
I
area.
need some definite help in this area. Katie, so let's start off. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you, your story, and what brought you into this realm of business?
Well, thank you both for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you and with all of your listeners. It's just such a pleasure. So I'm a CPA, so I work in the area of finances. I specifically support women business owners around their accounting and their taxes. But that doesn't just mean I help them with their accounting and taxes. For me, giving them the understanding of their accounting and taxes so that they can actually be empowered to use that information to make decisions and know what it means and how am I doing? Can I make this next decision? Can I invest? Can I leave my job? What is best for me? How is this going to impact my family? Is really the most important part of the work that I do.
It's so neat because I can tell you I am, I've been a business owner now for 14 years, and I was recently out on a hike with a good friend of mine who also is a CPA, and she was in town visiting, and another friend of mine were all speakers, and they started talking about this and that, and do you do distributions and how do you do it? And I'm thinking, oh boy.
What are you talking
Yep,
about?
I think I need some help here. Now, what was it that led you into this? Is this in your family? Did you always know you wanted to be an accountant?
I did not know that I always wanted to be an accountant. I literally tripped into it. My parents did own their own business. It backed up to a farm, and my brother and I were playing with a toy, and it went over the fence where the cows were grazing, and he told me that since I was younger, I had to go get it. And the cows started, they actually run. I didn't know that about cows. And I freaked out and tried to dive through the barbed wire fence and got hurt and spent the rest of my summer inside. And my mom decided to keep me busy with her petty cash ledgers. And back in the day when there were a big ledger book with a pencil, and I think the calculator is what did it. And that noise when the receipt comes out.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what led me to like accounting.
Oh, funny. Wow. All thanks to a cow.
Yeah.
Yes, and my brother.
And your brother, yeah.
Everything happens for a reason. Well, you mentioned something that really is intriguing to me. You talked about, women wanting to leave maybe their full-time job to jump into a business, being an entrepreneur. I'm a part of a lot of women's groups, and that question comes up, I'd say almost daily. So is there anything that you can give to our listeners that may be in that situation of, hey, this is when you really know that you can now take that next adventure?
I think that what is so important in the work that I do is understanding that there is no one answer. So when you Google it and read that article that gives you the answer or see it on social media, keep in mind, there's no one size fits all solution and there's no right or wrong. So it's really important instead to connect with what's true for you. What is it that you need in order to feel safe entering this new venture? What is it that drives you to decide to take this next step? What is really important to you in your life? Is it a quality of life? Is it reaching a vision or a mission or a purpose that you have for your life? Is it a financial security? Is it time with the kids? There's so many drivers that having that conversation and helping you explore really the connected reason that you're doing this is going to help you figure out the timeline. Because when we know that reason and we have clarity around what's important to you, then we can pull together what you need to be ready.
That's awesome. So it's almost like you tailor it to your client. It's really cool.
And really, I think what's refreshing about that is really kind of bringing in these soft skills of empathy and collaboration and good communication, which I think some people might not necessarily associate with a CPA, quite honestly, right?
Well, I don't think the finance industry has been especially sensitive or soft. And I think that with women CPAs like myself really stepping strongly into leadership in this profession, we can bring those skills and really help people understand that, again, it's not these rules. You don't have to put into the 401k in this amount at this day. Are there advantages? Yes, there's pros and cons to everything, but they're just decisions, and you need to figure out by understanding kind of how things work and what they mean, how to decide which decision is right for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, in this day and age, I mean, we have obviously self-service everything, right? TurboTax, and everything's out there, right? And and they've continually attempted to, I think, humanize it, right? Well, you can meet with the person and you can talk to them and you can see them face to face. For some people that might be maybe, like for example, with myself as a small business owner. What is the advantage of meeting with a CPA and actually having a conversation with someone like you versus, I'm just going to do this online stuff?
Well, I will tell you that there's always, I think it's fantastic, like the self-checkout at the grocery store. There are great advantages when you're in a rush. The self-checkout is so the place that I want to be and just swipe my 2 items and get out of the store. But when I have a full cart, I really don't want to do all that myself with my week's worth of family groceries. I am not wanting to do that and have to queue up all the produce. And I think that you have to think about the same thing with your taxes and accounting. There are times that using a spreadsheet or using QuickBooks by yourself without support or using TurboTax and going through the interview is the right fit. But if you start finding that you're confused on some of the questions, you're not entirely sure what it means, or you don't even know, am I getting all the deductions? Am I missing something? Are there questions? If you haven't consulted, you kind of don't know where things are. And that's not a great place to be making a decision from. It's better to have the information, to meet with a CPA, to see what they can offer, how can they support you, and then say, actually, I knew all that and I got this and I'm gonna go do it myself, and do so from a place of, again, empowerment and information and confidence, knowing what's right for you rather than guessing.
Yeah, I think it also humanizes it too. When you are dealing with an actual person versus a machine, you get that human interaction. And like you were saying, I really want people to understand like where they want to go, and then we can figure out how to get there. TurboTax isn't going to listen to my dreams, as much as I try to make it listen to my dreams, it doesn't. So I'm curious, how did you get to focus on women? Because obviously, like, there's a huge population of men also. So why the focus on women?
Yeah, and that's been something that's evolved as I've evolved in my life. But it comes from a place of just deep-seated gratitude and appreciation for the opportunities that I've had in life. And I feel like in my life, I was married young. I think I was about 22 when I got married and had my daughter. And I was married for 10 years, and it wasn't right for me. And I needed to make another choice. And the fact that I had my own business and that I was knowledgeable about my finances, that I was knowledgeable about how much money I made and how to set my budget. It still nothing works out perfectly and nothing is easy in this life. And there were a lot of challenges, but being able to know that I could make that choice for myself and do so without having to feel afraid of how I was going to take care of myself, it just has been life altering for me. And I spent probably 8 years as a single mom with my daughter, and knowing that I was able to provide for her and take care of us, it just really ignited that recognition inside me that because I know this information, it was a gift. And I would love for other women to have this gift, because there are people who just don't have the understanding, they don't have the knowledge, and it restricts their ability to achieve what they want in their life or to make decisions, and they put off things thinking they're not ready. They don't start the business, they don't enter the relationship, they don't buy the house that they want, they don't retire when they're ready, they don't take the trip, and it feels insecure and unsettling. And I just recognize that when you're given a gift and a talent, I think it's a calling, and it's meant for me to share that with the world. And the way that I can do that is by supporting women in their businesses, by educating them on their accounting and their taxes, and supporting them around the decisions that they want to make in their life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's a couple of beautiful things you said. The number one, I think when you have the skills or the gift, right, in a certain area, I truly believe that. I believe that we all are brought into this earth with certain God-given talents, gifts, strengths, and our job is to serve. I fully believe that we are supposed to align with that. And then we are to serve and give in that manner, or with that facet, or with that skill, or whatever. And I think what happens a lot of times is we don't, right? We tend to go to, oh, well, this would make me more money, or I like this better, or something like that. And I think that that's why people a lot of times are just kind of disconnected from what they're doing, because maybe the motivation isn't quite, and when you align with your gifts and your skills, it just opens so many more doors. So I 100% agree with you on that. And we are grateful to you that you're giving these gifts, because I think this is a conversation that a lot of women aren't having. I know for me, part of me is like, I feel like I just don't want to even talk about it. It's like, and so if I know I can go to somebody who's friendly and welcoming and open and saying, hey, we're a team on this, that definitely changes the perspective. It is kind of amazing to me in this day and age that there are still women who don't know the ins and outs of finances. And I'm honestly, like I say, not claiming, I can do my QuickBooks and my stuff like that, but I'm definitely not, I look at some of the stuff, I'm like, I don't know. I think this is the best, that uncertainty you mentioned. Yes, I deal with that quite a bit. But, I've heard stories of, women where their husband has died suddenly. They don't know anything. Like, they do not know how to pay the bills. They don't know what bills are even being paid. And I think that empowering women is just so important, not to put them in that situation.
And I think that I think it's so easy to see how that happens. So I'm an accountant. And the shocking thing about me is I am not good at math and I am not good at numbers. And so I have calculators and computers that things for me. And people frequently assume I am. And so I get a lot of feedback from women around, well, I'm not really good with numbers. Yeah. Not either. And I do, though, completely empathize with that, because if I wasn't in this career, I don't know that I would have taken on the finances in a household, because I think I would have been like, there are a lot of other things I'd rather do in this life, because it's not comfortable at first when you're learning how to do it. And it takes time. It's a skill, just like anything else that we do in life, from, cooking or whatever we do professionally. They're skills that are learnable. And finance is an extremely learnable skill. And that's why it's important that it's not fun. It's easier to say, I'll get to that later. It's easy to allow it to fall to the bottom of the to-do list. And I understand. But it's also not as bad as you think it is. And it's not as hard as you think it is. And in 5 to 10 minutes a week, you can master the basics and really make a huge difference in how you relate to your finances and how you show up in that relationship and how it benefits you.
Yeah, I think one of the, and I think that's perfect, like in having a healthy relationship. And I know, you know, some women have an unhealthy relationship with their finances. And like for me, it's actually some of it comes from a previous marriage where I have an unhealthy, you know, I have kind of this built-in fear, you know, or dread of even talking about it because of that. And I think being empowered, getting the knowledge, getting in control. The other thing that I'm seeing a lot with a lot of our listeners and a lot of my peers as we're looking at these, a lot of solopreneur type folks, is we don't have consistency with our inflow. You know, so we're not running businesses that are, oh, okay, every 2 weeks I'm getting a paycheck. Rather it's feast or famine, and there are big peaks, big valleys. And that was the conversation I had hiking with my two friends the other day. Is, you know, as speakers, it's so hard to, okay, you know, the recommendation is we're supposed to pay ourselves an X dollar salary. Well, we don't know. Some months maybe we would have that, some months we wouldn't, you know. And so there's that variability that I think, to me, maybe partnering with having an accountant can kind of help with that and help look at trends and stuff. And do you experience that quite a bit?
All of us self-employed folks experience those peaks and valleys, but there are specific things that we can do to plan for them and to even them out. So by evening them out, it can even just be, it sometimes is a matter of time. A new business is going to have a lot more variability, and it's also scarier because you don't know the seasonality, the pattern, or just have the experience to know, looks bleak, but I know it's going to be okay because I've been at this long enough. Right. So one, it could be a matter of time. Two, it can be just understanding natural business cycles. Maybe January is always slow for you. Maybe August is always slow for you. And knowing how to predict and plan for that and what decisions you should make, how can we make sure we're prepared for this and it's not the feast or famine. How can I, you know, have a little emergency cushion on the side? What types of marketing endeavors should I do to kind of flatten or, you know, bring something up during this time? There's just a lot of different things we talk about, understanding what's contributing to it, noticing the patterns, looking at previous data, you know, comparing to a prior year. And so it's strategies of understanding and then strategies of how to plan for it so that you feel more comfortable. And again, it comes back to that information.
Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of programs out there like Dave Ramsey. There's different apps you can do. Is there something that you, for, let's just say, people that are starting out, maybe they are riddled with debt, trying to just get their feet on the ground going, is there an app or something that you recommend for our listeners that maybe this would be a great starting point to just try to get the ball rolling and understanding your finances?
Yeah, so I would recommend a wonderful app called your calendar. And I would recommend you open your calendar and you find 30 minutes in your life every single week and commit to sitting down with your finances. There's no
when you do that,
do it for you.
Yeah. So when you sit down and you look at your finances, what is it that you should be focused on? Money in, money out?
Yeah. So first, it's making a commitment that you're going to show up in a quiet time. So everybody has a different routine and schedule. Figure out where you are most likely to have time in your life. If you get interrupted and you are tired when you get home from work, committing to 6:30 at night is not your time. It might be 7 in the morning, or it might be Saturday with your coffee. So really just consider that. What should you be doing? Again, I think there are a lot of apps, there are a lot of programs, and people dive in and they get super excited, but it starts, actually, I found almost all of the work needs to start earlier than a lot of the books and apps recommend. So the first thing that you should be doing is recognizing how much money do I make? Now you probably, if you're employed, know your gross salary. How much actually lands in your checking account? Because that's the number that we're working with.
Right.
Doesn't help if you take your salary divided by 12 and you have all kinds of deductions and benefits and things coming out of your paycheck. How much money hits your bank every month? That's what you're working with. Step 2, where's my money going? Now this does generally take an app, just because sifting through your bank statement and adding and subtracting is not practical. There are plenty of tools such as Mint or Quicken, which will sync and automatically even categorize things, because you want to know where your money is going. Is it going to bills? Is it going to dining out? Is it going to
Amazon Prime?
Amazon Prime. Yep.
shopping, like self-care, the kids, the dogs? Where is it actually going? So money in, where is it going? And then the third part is, if you do have debt, and this is a part that can be intimidating for people, and this is why 30 minutes consistently a week is great, because you don't need to do all of this at one time. Yes. So the third step is just start by making a list of what debt you have. Car payment, mortgage payment, student loan, credit card, personal loan, back taxes, medical bills. Just make a list. And then it might actually be time for you to take a break, take a breath, and really give yourself a pat on the back. That is enough for today. Yep. Because then the next step would be just, how much do I owe all these people? And totaling it up. And then how long would it take me to pay this off? And then looking at, when you go back to your expenses, okay, well, which of these could I let go? And would that free up a little bit of money to pay off some of this debt? But I think the biggest thing that I would want to leave as a takeaway for anybody that has debt is that every dollar you allocate to pay off a debt. So if you're going to put an extra $100 to your debt every month, only do that if you can put an extra $100 to your savings account. If you can put an equal amount in your savings account, then you need to be less aggressive on the debt payoff. Because if you go so aggressive on paying off your debt, it becomes like a hamster wheel. Because the minute the car breaks down, the hot water heater goes, you get sick and miss work, or business slows down, the cycle repeats because you aren't prepared. So you have to make sure that an equal amount is being set aside for savings as you're paying off the debt, and just embrace, yes, it costs fees. Yes, it takes a while, but you are taking steps. You are showing up. It is a process. It is a journey. This does not have to be a sprint. Just be consistent with it.
Wow, that is really, really, really powerful feedback and information. And I think that is incredibly helpful. I know for me personally.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
and for our listeners, because we do sometimes have that mentality of, okay, just put everything to the debt, put everything to the debt, put everything to the debt. And so hearing that, and that does totally make sense. Yeah, because when the next thing happens, which it always will, what do? You go back to the credit card. Here, I'm going to put it back on my credit card. Yep. Yeah. So really, really powerful advice.
Trapped. It keeps us trapped, and that is so stressful. And then what ends up happening is, a year later, 2 years later, you just feel like giving up because you at it for so long and it doesn't work, and it's so frustrating. So you have to take a new approach to break the cycle.
That's really good. I think that was the best information we've got
on the podcast. Yes. That is so helpful for people. I mean, it's almost like permission to save. I mean, permission to be thinking about that. And I love the way you worded that of whatever you can afford to put towards debt, put the equal amount towards savings. It's like, I'm thinking this morning, I was paying bills this morning. That I do pretty well. I do pay my bills. And I was thinking, I was putting all my extra money on. I'm going to pay extra on my car payment, extra on my mortgage payment, extra on my credit card. Did I put any in savings? I did not. So that's a really good, that's really, really good advice. That's powerful.
And is there a goal for savings wise? I know I've heard like 3 to 6 months of your household bills. Like, is there because I like goals, so I like to strive for something. So what is a good savings number that you should have, if there is a magic number?
I think it's more important to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
So why do I need the savings? what is that providing me with? And not because it's not important to have an emergency fund. It absolutely is. And your concrete answer is, 3 to 6 months, but for some people it's 6 to 12 months. But the reason I ask why is to recognize that in an emergency, it is wonderful to have an emergency fund. But I'm sure not just me, but many of us can attest to the fact that no emergency fund can always prepare for all emergencies. And so I think it's important to recognize what your expectation of the emergency fund is and what it's offering you in order to figure out what that number should be. So part of that reflection would be, okay, so the magical they have said it should be 3 to 6 or 6 to 12 months. Okay, so let's just take a minute and daydream about the potential emergencies. Maybe I've become disabled. Can I work? Can I get new work? What would it take for me to get other work? How much would I get paid in that other work? Am I completely incapacitated? What does that look like? Do I have anybody else that contributes to household income, or am I alone in this situation? If you're self-employed, maybe it's a market downturn and your business not being able to generate a positive cash flow. So, okay, well, what would I do in that circumstance? How much money do I need? Where would I get this money? Do I go back to get a job? What am I qualified to do? How long would it take me to get back to a job? What short-term side hustles could I do? And so I think it's really important to kind of, not in a panic spiral, because we've all been there, but proactively from a place of calm reflection, think about, what would I do? And that gives you, again, that feeling of, it's not scarcity. It's not like, I only have this little bit I saved. Okay, I have some savings, and now I am capable of solving some problems. Let's collect our thoughts. Let's take some action. Let's think about what we can do in this situation. Where can I call in some resources? Where can I place some phone calls? And what can I do if this were to happen? And I think part of the emergency and the emergency fund is it catches you off guard and you don't know what to do, and the panic starts.
I think that's a great point. I've been in spots of emergencies before as well, and the panic overrides because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Do I have enough money? What am I gonna do? And so I think being able to, when you're not in the emergency situation, have a good idea. Okay, these are different options I can take. So when that does happen, the panic, you may still have a little panic, but it's not going to overcome everything that you're doing. So I think that's a really good tip for our listeners.
Katie, this has been so enlightening and so helpful for our listeners. So we really, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on See How I Did That.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to chat with you, and it's a privilege to be invited and to spend some time with you all here.
We hope you enjoyed this interview with our guest, Katie Mongelli.
Yes, and you can find her at www.monarchfinancialcoaching.com.
And we didn't even get the chance to talk about it in the interview, but she also has a book out there. It is called A New Beginning, Lakeside Hideaway Book 1, and it is a fiction book that's out there. It's got amazing reviews. Check it out. She's actually working on the sequel to that right now. So again, check out Katie Mongelli, CPA, at monarchfinancialcoaching.com.